There's a line out the door of 13-year-old Black boys dressed in their Sunday's best, accompanied by parents looking stressed but understanding this rite of passage. It's picture day. So they dress up their teens, make them say cheese, continue this routine every 2 years, images archived online in case their sons die, gone too soon. This way, the media can be given the official images that we want used, not the ones that they always seem to find that seem to have us looking like we've lived a life of crime and we are unworthy of inquiries. Court cases, convictions, and nobody wants to be here. This is no one's idea of a fun afternoon, a good use of family time, taking pictures in case our sons die, but everyone knows that a picture says 1,000 words, and this might be the only obituary spoken heard because we are living in a world where more Black boys will die in Chicago than soldiers during the Iraq War, where Black boys will continue to die from being poor with poor options, poor choices, leaving us pouring out liquor, spilling spirits for lost spirits because Black lives only seem to matter when they're dead. So every month we put aside funds for our son's education/funeral fund. We live in the now. Tomorrow seems like a cruel joke. When you grow up in communities that make you play Hunger Games for survival, creating rivals out of street codes, often outlined in chalk in our street clothes, we think we're dying prematurely. They think we're dying right on time. So every 2 years, we reluctantly stand in this line, ensuring that the first suit he wears is not the one that he's buried in, that he understands how handsome he is, the potential he has, that he gains the desire to live so that these pics can be used for nothing more than special occasions that we celebrate. So let me fix your tie. Stand up straight. Smile, son. It's picture day.
I'm a Bronx girl faintly fatigued from writing Bronx poems and about the deficit in Bronx schools that somehow creep up even after the accolades. Even in all the ways one can script words across this page, the space is so expensive. Their words are doing train somersaults and backflips. Yeah, I feel like a homemade foreign concept, like trying to hug the hand that boxes me in with its fist, trying to shimmy my thick thighs and weighted stories into structures that simply just don't fit, and back into affirmations that live through the snapping of fingertips, the elongated sounds birthing a collective hymn of admiration, the beating of heels, the catching of spirits, mounting us into living poems adorning the seats. These rhythms originate in my ancestry. They enter this realm at the horizoning of heavy. My truth is heavy like waves waiting in water, heavy like Bronx girls who never learned of couplets and the ways in which they can carry love in between them.
Fast cash smuggled through my infant torso. I arrived smiling. Coral check cashing spots sealed my eyes, hearing voices, but none of them sing to me. I'm lucky to be a metaphor for no one. Washing my face with the memory of water, my back to the edge of a chessboard. I'm settling into a petty arrest record with my face laid flat on an apartment kitchen table. Mississippi linoleum begins. Citizen council, rest haven, government plans braiding together breathing tubes. A Greek philosopher takes the path of least resistance. The bronze corporation age dawns. Coachable white nationalism in boardrooms, they ask if county line skin could be churned directly into cornflakes. A Senate special chain gang mines our neighborhood for evidence of continent unity, makes a mess of the word kin, makes a war report out of a family secret chord progression. A tenor part before dying makes white people geniuses. Lynch mob freaks rehearse their show tunes in the courthouse walls they take for mirrors. Rehearse for a president's pat on the head, a pat on the head they take for audience laughter. Doesn't matter if you name a building Du Bois 1,000 times. A lot of sirs in the soup, a lot of speed. Treaty ink-stained teeth write themselves a grin. Imperialist speechwriter grins boil over in my ink-riddled mind. A non-future dripping with real people. Real people. Not poem people. A street with no servant somehow, soul singer somehow, unless consolation, eternity, or the poor man's fish order, this half of a spirit or husk of a messiah, religious memorabilia made from the wood of a prison farm fence, System makes a psychic adjustment for sibling domestic colonies and not-for-profit Tuesday meltdowns. We do straightforward time. Dehydration takes hold of the police state every 28 hours. The house dares a slave. What turns you into a sergeant mention turns you into a lance between deacons. Plot twist provided by white beggars in a black city. The fathers who Reagan flicked, kicking garbage, thinking about race of production, notebooks dangling out of car windows. We go the way of now extinct hand gestures, Mediterranean sandals and underground moves in tandem. I mean, whoever I am today is still your friend. Crooked cops and crooked news junkies. Amadou Diallo is your mind on military science. Mario Woods, the gang enhancement they would even put on God. If you turn down the television low enough, you can hear San Francisco begging for more war profiteering. We will not live forever, but someone out here wants us to as mice, pouring through an hourglass. In Olympus, Babylon or Babylon Olympus. Subway car smoke session making its way into an interrogation room. Maybe it's all just one room. It's definitely all just one smoker. Live from your monotheistic toy collection. Poor people writing letters in your books about Malcolm X, ice picking the art. New floorboards for Watts' prophecy pen twitching over scrap paper, pen tweaking while smoothly a bus driver delivers incarcerated children. The Lord's door opens. All street life to a certain extent starts fair. Sometimes with a spiritual memory even. Pre-dawn soul clap, your father dying even. Maybe I pushed the city too far. My sensitivities, the landfill districting and minstrel whistles, modal gangsterism, white supremacist graffiti on westbound rail guards all overcome and reauthored. Revolutionary violence that chose its own protagonist from muted stage of genius. The garbage is growing voices, condensed Marxism for a warrior depressive, underpass in my pocket because I just might be a deity or decent bid on the Panther name, a merciful Marxism. Disquieted home life, a metaphor for relaxing next to a person who is relaxing next to a gun. I stare at my father for a few seconds, then return to my upbringing. Return to the souls of Ohio black folks. Revolution damn near pagan at this point. You know what the clown wants? The respect of the ant. Wants a pen cap full of bullets, wants to see their ancestors in broad daylight. I'm not tired of these rooms. Just tired of the world to give them a relativity. My only change of clothes prosecuted, the government has finally learned how to write poems. Shootouts that briefly align, that make up a parable. White bodies are paid well. Do white men actually even have leaders? All white people are white men. All I do is practice, Lord. A rat pictures a river. Can almost taste the racial divide, can almost roll a family member's head into a city hall legislative chamber. Knows who in this good book will fly. I've decided not to talk out of anger ever again, Lord. Me and my wife at the same time, I met new audience members for our pain. We pass each other cigarettes and watch cops win. A city gone uniquely linear, Harlem of the West, do a true universe. I will always remember you in fancy clothes, my wife said. So here I sit, twisting in silk ideation. My rifle made of tar targets made of an honest language. The San Francisco poetry is how God knows that it is me whining. Riding among the lesser respected wolves, lesser observed militarization, Dixie-less prison bookkeeping. I mean, the California gray coats are coming. Lynch mob gossip and bourgeois debt collection. I mean, it's tempting to change professions mid-poem. In a Chicago brief and a white sergeant saying blank slate for all of us after this black organizer is dead. Standard academics toasting $2 wine at the tank parade. Bay of nothing, Lord. Nuclear cobblestones, gunline athleticism, and the last of the inherited asthma. Children given white dogs to play with and fear. Facial expressions borrowed from rich people's shoestrings. I can hear hate and teach hate and call tools by people names and name people dead to themselves. No one getting naturalized except federal agents soon. Carving the equator in the throat soon. I'm sorry to make you relive all of this, Lord. Pre-dawn monarchy friends putting up politician posters and snorting the remainder of the pace. Minstrel scripts shoveled into the walls by their elders, my children sharpening. Quarters on the city's edge for these audiences, I project myself into a ghost-like state. For these gangsters, I do the same. Every now and then we take a nervous look east, sleep becomes Christ, sleep starts growing the racial identity. Do you ever spiral, Lord? As the gang age betrayed us, be patient with my poems, Lord. So much pain is a point of crime. I mean, it has to be if race traders come with it. Lord, is that my revolver in your hand? Better presidents than these have yawned at cages, have called us holy slaves, filled the school libraries with cop documentaries. Baby, I don't have money for food. Shit, I don't have a present moment at all. I go to the railroad tracks and follow them to the station of my enemies. A cobalt-toothed man pitches pennies at my mugshot negative all over the United States. There are toddlers in Iraq. I see why everyone out here got in the big cosmic basket and why blood agreements mean a lot and why I get shot back at. I understand the psycho-spiritual refusal to write white history and take the glass freeway. White skin tattooed on my right forearm, ricochet sewage near where I collapsed into a rat-infested manhood. My new existence is living graffiti. In the kitchen with a lot of gun cylinders to hack up. House of God in part, no cops in part. My body brings down to Christmas. The new bullets pray over blankets made from the old bullets. Pray over the 20th hour's next beauty mark. Extrajudicial Confederate statue restoration. The waistband before the next protest posted. No, by the way, time is not an illusion, Your Honor. I will save your desk for last. You're with, Your Honor. You're moving money again, Your Honor. It's only running one thing. 9 white cops. And prison guard shadows reminded me of spoil floating on an oil spill. A neighborhood making a lot of fuss over its demise. A new lake for a Black Panther party. Malcolm X's ballroom jacket slung over my son's shoulder. The figment of village. A new noose to a new white preacher. All in an abstract painting of a president. They bought slavers some time, didn't it? The tantric screeches of military bolts and election Tuesday cars. A cold-blooded study in leg irons inside a tornado shelter, leg irons inside your body, proof that some white people have actually fondled nooses. As sundown couples made their vows of love over opaque peach plastic and boat action audiences, the Medgar Evers second is definitely my favorite law of science. Fondle news clippings and primitive Methodists, my arm changes imperialism. Simple policing versus structural frenzies, elementary school script versus even wider white spectrums. Artless bleeding and the challenge of watching civilians think of terrible rituals they have around the corner. They let their elders beg for public mercy. I'm gonna go ahead and sharpen these kids' heads into arrows myself to see how much gravy spills out of family crest. Modern fans of war, what with their t-shirt poems and t-shirt guilt. And me having on the cheapest pair of shoes on the bus, I have no choice but to read the city walls for signs of my life. You know, the first cigarette tends to make this parking lot my bedside. The second cigarette tends to make this parking lot my front pocket. Next, I might hold a witness like a newborn, no half-hearted. Brittle teeth by my art. Watch how we talk in depopulated circles. I mean, you caught me, said the hangman to the condemned. You caught me red-handed, but the hangman's hand kept moving nevertheless. Bobbing flags eastbound, another familiar sound effects. A revolutionary would call us a landless fire. The night train agrees that these are my keys. I'm just admiring your fabric, Lord. My art is rational. Therefore, my life is in danger. Traveling up the tap this time, and it looks like water was never here, just jail noise. And the jail noise, the politicians speak, this world is weak. You know, lost his graffiti too many times. I tell the witness, all characters are in motion regardless of what that day did to your disposition. I also left this piece of good news in the ashtray next to my nickname. Every room has a kitchen in it. Every life has company to feed. Every room has a rumble in the corner. 8th grade heroin in my hand, along with pieces of an uncle of purgatory grease fire got us free. The phone rings in 1988. The epoch begins when a mother hangs up. This is not writing poems. This is wishing carloads well.
The references to burial sites is lost, perhaps to those with shovels. But for those persons whose ancestors wanted dead, not alive, once stock options expired, could not miss the 6 feet apart references. 6 feet under, 6 feet. I walk among the dead. I am a ghost with possibility extinguished at birth. 6 feet under, I see kin swimming nowhere, anchors attached to nooses attached to pre-existing conditions, like covenants and expired insurance policies. There's a mythology attached to Blackness, like we don't swim, we just drown. Perhaps the tears we tend to wallow in create sinkholes. Jaws open, swallowed. We swim inside a belly. Dark, we search for light and find more darkness. The mythology attached to a narrative of supremacy, one where Black people are not people. You know, we die, but not with dignity afforded even beasts, domesticated pets. This mythology attached to Blackness leaves my people alone, isolated, looked upon with contempt. Systems supported by cheap labor spin on wheels oiled by dispensable humanity. Black mythology, people step off curbs, yell expletives. It would be funny, except for Baba Emmett, it was too late. The joke, white people have no humor. 6 feet under, Emmett's body chained to narratives that say, Black boys don't get to grow up. Black people as surplus. Emmett linked to a genetic circuit passed through inheritance, auction blocks and stocks marketed differently now with the same result. COVID-19, Corona, crowned, beheaded, Black people stumble into graves 6 feet under, 6 feet below sea level. We reach for sky and find more dirt, gravel, broken ladders, and distilled promises. Even with pink supermoon, its largesse was only an illusion. The moon is still 238,855 miles from the earth, and even further from the sun, 93 million miles away. Even though it looks close, like broken legislative amendments to an anemic constitution, Justice sitting with her sister Liberty, both marooned on an island off the coast of a big apple. Apples laced with poisonous promises, Black mythology. It's a question of resilience, if only, but we don't. Black people don't bounce, we jump, remember? We run, remember? Chase, we cannot slow down except through death. Running is what people do who are alive. Walking is for the dead. Balls bounce like boomerangs, Sankofa symbols and pyramids. We do return. Blackness indivisible, permanent like dark matter that births life. But this is a philosophical wonder that has limited practicality, as one is running from police or stopped at a red light or unmasked in the face of COVID-19. Topsoil, pressure cookers, steam kettles tip over historic landmarks 6 feet under. Applied racism, like applied math, is practical. Resilience looks like hypertension, prostate cancer, liver disease, sugar diabetes, kidney stones, tumors, glaucoma, gout, renal failure, asthma, persistent trauma. Inside greedy monster's belly, we take small breaths, disappear, or at least try to, with passwords etched in DNA. Swallow stinging nettle to stop itching. Racism covers epidermis. Solitary confinement, shelter in place anxiety. We are magic. I think I remember a poem about magic. Oh yes, Joy Holland spoke about magic and voodoo and blackness in one sentence. I count steps, just as I time hand-washing rituals. Out, Spot, the queen said. However, when she looked, her hands were still covered in blood. This nation is covered in blood. Cleanliness is a myth too, like blackness. Thank you.